Today we have a pressing topic to discuss. The recent Department of Justice findings concerning the Louisville Metro Police Department. The findings were released on March 9, 2023 following a lengthy investigation, and unfortunately there are serious issues with these findings and not in the way that you might expect. We will delve into the details, the implications, and what it all means for the Louisville community and communities around the country. So let's start with some background. In 1994, the Department of Justice received the authority to conduct pattern or practice investigations of law enforcement agencies believed to be systemically violating constitutional rights. It's important to note that the DOJ doesn't disclose its criteria for initiating or sustaining these investigations. On April 26, 2021, the DOJ opened an investigation into the Louisville Police Department. The findings were extensive, pointing to 63 incidents spanning several years that constituted a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing. Considering that Louisville handles over 500,000 calls for service, makes over 10,000 arrests, and serves thousands of warrants annually, the DOJ stated that these 63 incidents needed attention. These incidents included various categories, including 14 uses of force, 10 racial incidents, 9 protest-related issues, 9 search warrant concerns, 9 ADA-related issues, and a few miscellaneous cases. After the DOJ released their report, the Louisville PD established a transparency page to share public records related to these incidents. Louisville designed this page to have full transparency of the incidents alleged by the DOJ after not being consulted on the investigation or on the findings. One crucial aspect is the DOJ's handling of these incidents. We would hope and expect that the DOJ was fair and accurate in their reporting, but a careful review of the investigation raises serious concerns. In nearly half of the cases, the DOJ omits relevant material facts. Additionally, in 27% more cases, it describes misconduct as if it was just discovered by the DOJ, not acknowledging that the police department had already identified, investigated, and disciplined officers, including situations where officers were fired. Conservatively speaking, this means that more than 70% of the examples listed in the DOJ report are mischaracterized or misleading. I'm going to give examples of just a few of these mischaracterized reports, but first, I have concerns about the DOJ's process as well. The DOJ's process raises significant concerns. They rely on questionable data and negotiate deals with politicians who may not ask tough questions or push back. Before releasing findings, they often insist on an agreement in principle to enter a consent decree overseen by a monitor who reports to a federal judge. We reviewed all of the incidents in the DOJ report and Louisville PD's responses to these allegations. The majority have significant issues, and it would take quite some time to cover all of them. So here are some of the incidents that I want to bring to light, and in my opinion, these examples are representative of the DOJ's mischaracterizations that occur throughout the report. All this information I'm going to highlight will be linked in the description below. We'll start with Incident 62. In 2020, a federal court held that an officer violated the Fourth Amendment during a traffic stop by searching a car without probable cause. The Louisville Police Department initiated an investigation into whether the officer violated the policy for stops and searches. An investigator deemed the alleged policy violation unfounded, describing the federal court's analysis as presumptuous and not a defined conclusion. The PD closed the case 21 months after the court's decision and imposed no discipline. The DOJ characterized this incident as a failure to hold the officer accountable, but the DOJ ignored critical information. Specifically, the U.S. Attorney for Louisville, the DOJ's local representative, reviewed the facts in this matter and extended a written apology to the officer, shown here. The letter acknowledges that the judge's decision was based on the evidence presented by the U.S. Attorney's Office, but the U.S. Attorney himself raised concerns about the manner in which the evidence was presented. In the letter, it states that it was the fault of the prosecution for not presenting all of the evidence in the case. The next incident I'd like to discuss is incident number 17, where a search warrant was called into question. The DOJ characterized this warrant as not being supported by probable cause. What the DOJ ignored is that the warrant application was a body warrant for a person with an arrest warrant who is inside of a third party's home. The reason that officers use the other box in this situation is obvious from the title of the warrant and the remainder of the search warrant and affidavit. In addition, the affidavit establishes probable cause based on surveillance that the wanted person was staying at the residence. and this was all excluded from the DOJ's findings. Lastly, we'll look at Incident 10, which was a use of force issue described by the DOJ. In this incident, they say that Louisville police officers utilized takedowns, strikes, and other bodily force in ways that were deemed unnecessary and unlawful. For instance, the DOJ states that 2 officers encountered a man walking along a road who matched the description of a suspicious person. Notably, there was no indication that the man was armed or posed a threat to the officers. Nonetheless, one officer shouted, "Stop digging in your pockets," as he sprinted toward the man, tackling him at full speed. This resulted in the stunned man screaming that he'd done nothing wrong while lying in a pile of thorn bushes with 2 officers pressing down on his back. Sounds bad, right? Sounds like the DOJ is describing unlawful conduct by Louisville PD officers. Check out the actual video and we'll come back and I'll give my perspective on the matter.
Stop digging in your pockets! Stay out of your pockets! Stop! Stop! Ah, mother... You're the one who pulled the bag out, threw it, and then... What is it? Nice.
Now, here are the details provided by Louisville PD's Blue Team regarding the same incident. On September 17, 2019, officers Kent Rush, Jason McNeil, and Brian Hamden were dispatched to a suspicious person report in a neighborhood. Officer McNeil spotted an individual matching the original description. Hamlin and Rush were also present. Officer Rush observed the subject digging into his pockets and said verbally to stop. The subject then discarded a bag of suspected methamphetamine and attempted to stomp it into the ground. Fearing the potential presence of weapons and to prevent the destruction of evidence, Officer Rush tackled the subject to the ground. All 3 officers worked together to gain control of the subject. Later, Police Major Michael Shue stated that the suspect clearly could be seen throwing a baggie to the ground and stomping on it. Officers took the suspect to the ground to prevent further felony destruction of drug evidence. This shows the officer's perception was correct. The suspect was charged with multiple felonies, and the actions taken were within policies, procedures, and clearly established law. Several cities, including Albuquerque, Baltimore, Chicago, New Orleans, Oakland, Portland, and Seattle, have entered into consent decrees. These cities often face staffing shortages, high crime rates, shrinking tax revenue, and elevated operating costs. The cost of a monitor alone averages around $1 million per year, not to mention other implementation expenses, putting a significant financial burden on the city. After analyzing the Louisville report, I'm left to wonder whether the actual facts, actually support a finding that these departments engaged in a pattern and practice of unconstitutional behavior. So, to summarize, the situation in Louisville is complex. Where there are undoubtedly some issues to be addressed, there's always room for improvement. The DOJ's approach and findings have raised concerns about the DOJ's own fairness and transparency. The impact on the city's finances and governance is substantial if they move forward with a consent decree. It's a story worth following as the city navigates through this challenging situation. Locally, I hope that decision makers in my hometown of Phoenix pause and make sure any decisions that they make are supported by the facts and by the law. Thank you for sticking around for this in-depth discussion. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this and other critical topics. New videos come out every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Arizona time.